it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Daboll has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare-downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Daboll to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on...
A Football Friday starts right now, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Joe Ranieri. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time to get you set for yet another football weekend. It's week 4 already underway in the National Football League. It's week 5 of the college football season. A doubleheader of great games on this Friday. 4 ranked versus ranked matchups on a Saturday. The most in a single Saturday so far in this college football campaign. And then, Ranieri, a full Sunday slate here in weekend number 4 of this 2024 NFL season. It's also the final weekend of the MLB regular season, and the playoffs continue on Sunday afternoon in the WNBA. What more could you hope for over these next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern?
Oh, I guess maybe the NHL, NBA, and college basketball would be the only other things missing here, Ben, and they're just around the corner as well. What a beautiful time of year.
A beautiful time of year indeed. Week 4 of the 2024 NFL regular season starting last night. Our 3rd short week Thursday night football game of this season. All 3 have been a divisional matchup. The previous 2 inside MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The home team victorious last week. That was the Jets. The Giants made it a close and competitive game this week, but ultimately the Cowboys do prevail. Dallas wins 20-15, a game-sealing INT of Daniel Jones on a Hail Mary attempt. The Cowboys improve to 2-2, winning by 5 in a game that featured seven field goals between the 2 kickers. Good, the Giants signed somebody in Greg Joseph. Ultimately, the Giants do come up short, though, Joe. They do cover, however, as a 5.5-point underdog at home.
Yeah, I mean, being kept out of the end zone at home is not great. The Giants, I think, had just 26 total yards of rushing on 24 carries, Ben. That doesn't spell success against a Cowboys defense that had been known to give up rushing yards. So good job for the Cowboys exchanging touchdowns for field goals. That's why they won.
Yes, it was what happened for them. Brandon Aubrey, good once again. Dak Prescott, 2 passing touchdowns. Daniel Jones finished with 281 yards. But to Joe's point, the G-Men kept this game competitive despite an inefficient rushing attack, which we thought could be the advantage against a Dallas defense that had struggled mightily throughout the first 3 weeks of this season, especially the last 2, especially last Sunday at the Star at home, allowing 200 174 yards on the ground to the Ravens. Only 26 last night for New York on 24 carries. So a win for Dallas, a cover for the Giants in their 19th consecutive game as an underdog. Those dogs of 5.5 points or greater continue to be pretty good against the number this year. But Joe, on a short week Thursday night football game, one of the main focuses is you hope to get out healthy. Micah Parsons leaves the game early in the fourth quarter. Had to be carted off the field, but did tell the media afterward that early x-rays came back negative on his injured ankle. Malik Neighbors, who made history last night for rookie wide receivers around the NFL, did also leave the game early with a concussion.
Yeah, tough for both. But again, here we are, man, beginning week 4 of the NFL. These things are going to happen. It's inevitable here, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. He seemed very optimistic. The MRI will be today for Parsons. The concussion protocol will take care of itself. But the good news is they'll have extra rest here because playing on a Thursday night. So hopefully, knock on wood, all will be well for him.
Malik Neighbors did post on his Instagram story within the last hour that he's all good, and thanks everybody for their thoughts and prayers. Last night, 12 receptions on 15 targets for 115 yards. Malik Neighbors becoming the first player in NFL history to have at least 25 grabs and 3 receiving scores in his first 4 games. He's got 35 receptions so far this season. The Giants hope to have their bright spot back as soon as possible. Final week of the Major League Baseball regular season. The final day of the second to last sets around MLB, and a couple of divisional crowns at stake. First, we go late night to Los Angeles. Divisional duel against San Diego. The Dodgers down early, but then a 5-run 7th that featured a Will Smith 2-run home run, an RBI from Shohei Ohtani, and 2 more ribbies from Mookie Betts. Picture perfect for LA. The Dodgers clinch the National League West for the 11th time in the last 12 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, regular season domination by the Dodgers, Ben. It seems like it's rinse and repeat every single season here. And now with the new expanded playoffs, this is exactly the spot they wanted to be in here. And it looks like the regular season might get extended here through Monday without us knowing exactly on that side who else is going to the postseason.
And with the win, in Philadelphia had the day off. The Dodgers now a full game advantage for that number 1 overall seed. We'll talk plenty more around MLB to set the stage for the weekend in a little bit. But one more divisional crown at stake last night. And finally, after blowing their first 2 opportunities against the Orioles, the Yankees come through last night. Garrett Cole, sensational on the bump for New York. They were a hefty favorite at home, even against the O's ace in Corbin Burns. 10-1, the victory for the Yankees. Their second AL East crown in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and power on full display there, and their ace on the mound. So kudos to them. They avoid the whole wild card spot here. They dominate the American League East, and now it's this whole season, Ben, is going to be determined on what they do from this point on.
No doubt about it, Joe Ranieri. No doubt about it. The Dodgers clinched their 3-1, the World Series favorites. Phillies, second best price at plus 420. The Yanks, plus 450. The Yankees haven't even been back to the World Series since their last World Series championship in 2009. Aaron Judge homers for a 5th consecutive game. 58 long balls so far this season. In the final ever game in Oakland for the Athletics, the A's get a victory over the Texas Rangers. J.J. Bleday, a couple of RBIs for the A's. They win 3-2 on an emotional day in front of a sold-out crowd in Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, 56 years in that building, 56 years of baseball history, greatness, ups, downs, Moneyball, Ricky Henderson. You go down the list, a lot of great memories in that ballpark. All came to a close, and you got to love the people who showed up trying to steal the seats, Ben. Just figured they bought it. They might as well take it out in the last day. So kudos to Oakland for putting up with them as long as you have.
They'll play in a minor league ballpark next year in Sacramento. I will echo what many said yesterday by the Bay. Sell the team. John Fisher, you dirty, greedy individual. College football got started last night as well. And Army is still undefeated. A perfect 4-0 run for the Black Knights to begin this year. And also a perfect 4-0 against the spread as they house Temple in Philadelphia, 42-14, covering as a 12.5-point favorite. And as we told people yesterday, Joe, take the over of 45.5. It closed at 47.5 and still skied over that number.
Yeah, Army team totals. I mean, it was an over fest yesterday, big time in that spot. How bad is Temple, by the way? My goodness,
bad. 1-4 this year for the Owls, 2-3 against the spread. By the way, Army's last 3 wins, all against teams with the nickname the Owls. If Navy wins this weekend, they're a road favorite in Birmingham. Army and Navy will start 4-0 in the same season together for the first time since 1945. WNBA news and a shocker. The Sky Fire first-year head coach Teresa Witherspoon. Yes, Chicago did lose 5 games to end out the year and were just 13-27, but a peculiar move by the Sky. More around Thursday Night Football next. It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Thursday night football for the 2nd consecutive week inside MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Last week it was the Jets against the Patriots. The New York team won and covered. This week it was the Giants hosting the Cowboys. The New York team did not win, but hey, they covered as a 5.5-point underdog against the Cowboys. Dallas wins ugly, Joe. Let's call it what it is. 20-15 last night on the road. 2 passing touchdowns from Dak Prescott. That's the difference because the Giants did not find Pater last night. They made 5 field goals. The Giants have had some kicking issues this year. Not last night with Greg Joseph. They just hope to not see Greg Joseph as often as he was out on the gridiron last night for the G-men. Brendan Aubrey, pretty good on the other side for the Dallas Cowboys. He makes 2, 7 total field goals in the game. Dallas does win to get back to an even 500, 2-2 with the 20-15 victory over the G-Men.
Yeah, and again, really the story of this game is the fact of, or the inability of the Giants offense to get in the end zone and having to settle for field goals. They were still able to score on 5 of their first 6 possessions. Ben, in that game, they came out with a big 77-yard drive to open the second half, but they only had 59 yards after that drive in the second half. Singletary couldn't rush. So kudos to the Dallas defense, Ben. They're the reason they won that game last night for such a unit that has been absolutely lambasted, and with good reason, on their inability to stop just about anybody. Boy, they stopped the Giants. Very bend, don't break feel last night. Very typical of what we've seen from Mike Zimmer defenses in the past, only they didn't let them get in the end zone, and that's why they won that game.
Really well said, Joe. And that was Dallas's crux to start this year. They could not defend the run. They also could not run the football. Their ground game offensively, not much better last night, but they held the Giants down. And if you are an underdog looking to shorten the game, and Devin Singletary is not Saquon Barkley, but had been solid so far this year, when New York runs it 24 times for only 26 total yards as a team, you have done a very, very good job. So that was huge for Dallas and maybe the main takeaway. I said Brandon Aubrey was pretty good. He hit a 60-yarder last night, but did miss that 51-yarder in the final minute of regulation that allowed the Giants to have an opportunity. The Hail Mary intercepted off the arm of Daniel Jones, who was solid last night. No touchdown tosses. He had multiple TDs each of the past 2 weeks, but well over his passing yards prop of 201.5, finishing with 281. Again, Joe, the story for New York, they're probably a 2-2 football team. If they had Greg Joseph in week 2 and he could have kicked some extra points against the Commanders, they did not. They probably would be a 3-1 football team, or maybe even 2-2 if Greg Joseph was just kicking extra points last night and not field goals. You said it there. The Giants scored on 5 of their first 6 possessions, but they were all field goals, and that was the issue for the G-Men. On the other side, for Dallas, a really solid and efficient night out of the NFL's leading passer, Dak Prescott, 22 of 27, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. And after both Dak and his top target, CeeDee Lamb, took the accountability, Joe, throughout the week after suffering the humiliating defeat against Baltimore. CeeDee saying, I have to be better. I got paid. You could see there was that onus in the Cowboys offense to feed CeeDee Lamb the football. 7 grabs, 98 yards, finding pay dirt for just the second time in 4 games this year.
Yeah, and also give him credit. I mean, Daddle had, 61 yards on the night, and they were tough yards, and they were big yards when they needed them. So they actually offensively looked a lot more like what we thought we would typically get from this Cowboys offense. But again, it's the defense that did the job. Yep. And you can say, I mean, look, between Neighbors and Robinson, 23 catches between the both of them. Time of possession was off the charts, Ben, in favor of the Giants. But when you trade touchdowns for field goals, you look great until, of course, the final score comes up and you don't. And as a side note, Aubrey's missed 51-yarder. My apologies to those that did not get the opening line of -4 or 4.5, because that was brutal last night if you jumped in late at the 5.5 for Dallas.
Yes, it would have been brutal. And again, it continues the trend of 5.5-point underdogs or greater this year. It might be the best betting trend and handicap you have. Insert X team. If they're catching 5.5 or more, just bet them. They are now 15-2 against the spread, 5.5-point dogs or more this season, still with 10 outright victories. Dallas does not cover on the road by the hook. It was the first under of the year for the Cowboys, 44.5, staying well under. The Giants have been under in all 4 games. So, of course, Joe, with some good does come some bad. Micah Parsons leaves the game early in the 4th quarter with what looked to be a significant ankle injury. He said after the game, X-rays negative. That's a good first step. we shall see what the outcome is for Dallas moving forward. On the other side, Malik Neighbors, a historic night for the rookie wideout in the 6th overall pick for the G-Men. As we share, 12 grabs, 115 yards with his 25th catch of the season. And by the way, he ended with a total of 35 receptions. He became the first NFL player in league history to have at least 25 receptions and at least 3 receiving touchdowns in his first 4 games of his career. At this moment, yes, Malik Neighbors has played an additional game on everybody in the NFL, but 35 grabs for 386 yards, both lead the National Football League. He did, however, exit the game early with a concussion.
I don't know how he even got concussed on that play on the sideline on 4th down there, Ben. There was no hit. He didn't hit the ground hard. It was very strange that he couldn't get up after that. But even Trayvon Diggs said, we're going to have battles for many, many years to come. The kid is the real deal, and he is the real deal for the Giants.
At least 12 targets in his last 3 games, at least 8 grabs. And to your point, Joe, Malik Neighbors did share on his Instagram story. He's feeling pretty good this morning. The Giants now have the mini bye after playing on a short week Thursday night football game. So how does the result change our outlook for the rest of the year? Find out next. It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
So as we said, on Thursday Night Football, there is some good, there is some bad. In an ugly game, you just want to get out healthy. Not the case necessarily for Dallas, despite holding on for a 20-15 win on a Thursday night in MetLife. As we shared, Micah Parsons had to exit the game early in the 4th quarter as John Machota, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, I hope I did, reported as he covers the Cowboys for The Athletic in the locker room. Micah Parsons was limping around. Parsons told reporters the initial x-rays were negative. That's a good first step. We will see what the prognosis is moving forward. But Parsons did tell Dak, quote, all be good. DeMarcus Lawrence also up there on the defensive line said he's in pain with his foot injury, but he is going to be fine. You want to win on Thursday Night Football, and you want to get out healthy. So for the Cowboys last night.
Yeah, listen, you got the most important part, the win out of the way once again. And now I don't know anybody that has dominated a team like Dak has dominated the Giants in his career, because I believe this is now 11 straight wins with Dak Prescott against this Giants. I mean, his record is ridiculous since 2016 against them, especially with Danny Dimes. So another win for Dallas, but the good news is you get a little extra rest, and thank goodness it doesn't sound too crazy because bumps and bruisers at week 4 are going to happen here, Ben.
It is his 13th consecutive win against the Giants. He dropped his first 2 games to Dak in his career way back in 2016's NFL season against the G-Men, has not lost since. The Giants in their 19th consecutive game as an underdog last night, again, did cover. They're 10-8-1 against the number as an underdog in that span. Now 2-2 ATS on the closing number as an underdog this season. Dogs of 5.5 points or greater. Once again, know it for the Sunday slate on the horizon, 15-2 ATS. Of course, we will highlight any of the games on Sunday through the remainder of this NFL Week 4 slate that feature an underdog of 5.5 points or greater. But, Joe, you're right. Some injuries that crept up for Dallas defensively after a really good night stuffing the run, which had been their main issue plaguing that side the first few weeks. For Dallas, though, a victory. Back to 2-2, quells some of the drama around that franchise. Because one thing Dallas has always been, it's good in the regular season. We can talk their postseason outlook at a later date. But the Cowboys had won 2 of the last 3 NFC East divisional crowns and at least 12 regular season games each of the past 3 seasons. Joe, before Thursday Night Football, win total was 9.5. The under had the juice. 9.5 remains that win total. But now you can see Dallas favored to get back into the postseason. That was actually a plus money price before TNF.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, Ben. I got to find the number. It's been a hot minute since we've had back-to-back NFC East champions, have we not? It usually doesn't happen. So,
Joe.
2004, there you go. So it's, boy, oh boy, the Cowboys are going to have some work to do here this year, and rather quickly if they're going to buck that trend. But it's a real trend here in the NFC East. It's usually somebody else year after year. But Cowboys certainly, I think, are good enough in that division to be able to win it again.
At some point, that divisional streak is going to have to come to a close. The Cowboys have the second best price at plus 240. Philly, a minus 170 odds-on favorite with a 2-1 record through 3 weeks. Since 2004, Joe, now nearly 2 decades of NFL action. The Eagles had won 4 straight from 2001 to 2004. They are the last repeat divisional champ in the NFC East. Let's stick on Dallas for just one more moment. Did anything you see last night, whether it was offensively, the Cowboys on the defensive side of the football in their 4th game under Mike Zimmer, make you a little bit more hopeful and optimistic on your season approach for the boys?
You have to. I mean, what they did against the run was impressive. There was no reason why Singletary couldn't have gashed them if they were truly that bad. That looked a lot more like the Minnesota Viking defenses of the Mike Zimmer era. Very bend, don't break, and they're just not letting you in the end zone. You can kick field goals against them all day long. You're not scoring, and I thought they did a great job on a short week of shoring a lot of that up.
The Giants, by the way, preseason win total 6.5. The under had the juice. It's now 5.5. The over has the juice. We didn't expect a ton from New York this year, but they have been competitive in football games. They are 2-2 against the spread, more than likely an underdog many more times this season. The final week of the MLB regular season and the final weekend next.
it's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA. That being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Thursday MLB headlines before we enter the final weekend of this Major League Baseball regular season. Yesterday was the end of the second to last sets for all teams around MLB. Now, just one more series remaining unless your name is the Atlanta Braves or the New York Mets. We shall see what Monday holds in the A, but both the Mets and the Braves back in action on this Friday. Before we get there, let's recap what we saw on Thursday. A couple of divisional championships on the line. In the National League West, the Dodgers rally in the home half of the 7th, plating 5 to knock off San Diego, win the rubber match of their series, and claim the NL West for the 11th time in the last 12 years. 2 of the past 3 seasons, the New York Yankees have been atop the American League East, as they were able to do last night. Aaron Judge homers for a 5th consecutive game. Garrett Cole, 6 2/3 of scoreless baseball against Baltimore. And the Yankees finally, after dropping the opening 2 games against the Orioles, clinched the American League East with a 10-1 victory over the O's yesterday.
Yeah, and it was long overdue, I think, for both of these teams, they would tell you. But kudos to the Dodgers. First time in a long time, Ben, I think that they actually clinched at home as well. And same thing with the Yankees, being able to get it done at home again with their fans is pretty nice here. But we still got a lot to be decided, both in the American and National League wildcard races. So buckle up. Should be a fun next 4 days, I think, here.
That we certainly do. The Dodgers now have won the National League West 11 of the last 12 seasons, but to Joe's point, as the World Series favorites, this is the year everybody is looking at this super team in Los Angeles to deliver. Only 3 World Series appearances in those previous 10 divisional titles in the National League West. Only 1 World Series championship, of course, during the COVID-shortened season of 2020. The Yankees trying to get back to the Fall Classic for the first time since 2009, the last year they won a World Series. Now to the wild card chase. The Royals and the Tigers continue to do what is needed. Detroit winning yesterday, down 3-0 entering the 6th. Colt Keith delivers 2 RBIs. Jason Foley records his 27th save of the season. And the Tigers sweep the Rays. They have now won 5 straight, 8 of the last 9. Joe, 23-8 since August 22nd, when they were 4 games below 500, 62-66. The magic number for Detroit is 2. The Royals also a win yesterday as well.
Yeah, and the Royals swept the Nats. I mean, kudos to them. But really, both of them, does it really matter because the Twins can't beat the Marlins? So it really feels like they're kind of secure both Detroit and Kansas City in the postseason. We know the Orioles will have that top wild card. So really, it's just a matter of, how soon do the Twins throw up all over themselves? It could be as early as, who knows, today. And then it's bye-bye Twins. Yeah. And then we'll see you, which is what
how soon
needs to happen,
Joe,
Ben.
they're already throwing up on
happen,
themselves.
Minnesota. Exactly.
They're throwing up on themselves right now. Yesterday, at home, this is not in Miami even where you could argue a lack of atmosphere. At home, at Target Field, as a minus 255 home money line favorite to win the rubber match, by the way, as they lost the opening game against the Fish earlier this week. They were down 4-0. Entering the 6th inning. They rallied to tie it in regulation, so we go to extra innings. Miami scores in the top of the 10th. The Twins answer once again. All right, then we go to the 13th without a run scored. Miami scores 3 in the top of the 13th. The Twins do score in the home half, but only a single run. Minnesota loses yesterday as a minus 255 favorite against a Marlins team that has 100 losses this year. Joe, Minnesota now has lost 13 of their last 19. They were 12 games above 500 on September 5th, as they already started to play a little bit of poor baseball. But still, 12 games above 500. They have gone 6-13 from that point and are on the brink of elimination. They're 3 games back behind both the Tigers and the Royals as of this Friday morning.
Yeah, and I'll give it even worse. It's not like they didn't have multiple, and I mean multiple, chances to win this game yesterday and keep their hope alive. They went 2 for 19 with runners in scoring position and left 15 runners on base in that game against the Marlins. Does that sound like championship baseball and a postseason team that you want to see in? Because it doesn't sound it to me.
No, certainly not, Joe. We'll talk about what is at stake the final weekend, but now the magic number for both KC and Detroit is only 1. Either they win or the Twins lose another, and bada bing, bada boom, 2 of the American League Central teams get in the wild card race. We thought it was going to be Minnesota and KC. Now it's going to be the Royals and the Tigers, more than likely. Again, Kansas City sweeping the Nationals yesterday in D.C., minus 185, road money line favorite, but it was tied entering the 9th. Adam Frazier, the veteran, pinch hit 2 RBI single to open up the scoring in the top of the 9th for KC. Some other news that doesn't have an implication on the playoff chase here, Joe. Entering the final weekend of this regular season, the A's played their final game in Oakland in front of a sellout crowd. It represents all that is bad in professional sports, in the greed of ownership to take a fan base and make them disloyal to their franchise. But Oakland showed up yesterday. They got a 3-2 win in their final game in the Coliseum. Next year, they will play in Sacramento. They hope to be in Las Vegas starting in 2026.
I mean, 56 years in that city, in that ballpark, in that town, a rich, rich history, and ownership has just absolutely buried this team and this franchise. And I got news for you, Ben. I'm not sold they're going to land in Vegas anytime soon anyway. I still don't think it's going to happen, which means, and you know what? I mean, shame on you, Rob Manfred of Major League Baseball, for allowing this to even get to this point. But that's what you have when everyone shares in revenue now, isn't it?
Everybody is blaming John Fisher, the A's owner, and as you should. Sell the team, John Fisher, but that everybody else in the league office and the other 29 owners in Major League Baseball have watched without saying a word. It sucks, and just because we haven't seen all the fans turning out because of their hatred of ownership does not mean there is not a passionate fan base by the Bay. You feel for Oakland. They lost the Warriors, they lost the Raiders, and now they have lost the Athletics. How about the White Sox, Joe? They will not go quietly into that good night as the worst team in modern history in Major League Baseball. They complete the sweep over the Angels yesterday. 7-0 the victory, scoring all 7 runs in the 5th. The first sweep for the White Sox since the end of April. That's April 26th through the 28th against the Rays. Come on, Chicago.
Well, no, come on, Angels. And you got to love Ron Washington, their manager, saying how this is not a team of big league baseball players after they get swept. And he's right. I mean, how in the world do you allow that to happen, Angels? That is just disgusting on both levels. But again, two other franchises been inexcusable to be as bad as they have been for as long as they've been.
Yeah, that is for sure, Joe. The Angels will not be in the postseason once again. Here are the standings right now, the playoff picture. We will set the stage with the notable weekend sets to end out this regular season later in our third hour to get you ready for everything around the National League. Again, all of the division leaders have clinched their spot. The Dodgers a game advantage over the Phils for that number one seed. What it comes down to, the Mets, D-backs, and Braves battling for the final two NL wildcard spots. And we thought we would have some excitement in the American League. Now with the Twins trailing by a full game, Joe, it really seems as though it will be KC and Detroit taking those final two AL wildcard spots behind the O's in the top spot. More MLB later in the show. Let's set the stage for Sunday next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind L.A., that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the second seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's get you ready for the Sunday slate around the National Football League in week number 4. A slightly reduced slate once again, as we will have another doubleheader to end out week 4 on this NFL calendar, but still 13 games on Sunday. Let's go to the final one on Sunday. That's Sunday Night Football in the Charm City. It's the Ravens and the Bills. Baltimore avoiding what would have been a dreadful start with what would have been 0-3 winless in Dallas last week, but they did pick up their first victory of the year, 1-2. Buffalo, one of 5 remaining undefeated teams entering week number 4 at 3-0. In the Ravens, a 2.5-point home favorite. Total 46.5. Joe, we react always to results of each and every week in the National Football League, especially the marquee matchup. So what do you think the reaction is going to be Monday morning after Sunday night?
I think the reaction is going to be Buffalo is for real, and the Ravens have many, many issues that they have to deal with here. I think this is a fantastic battle at this point in the season because it is the first real big road test for the Buffalo Bills. They're sitting at 3-0. Josh Allen could not be playing any better. So what is the excuse for you taking on a 1-3 Baltimore team who has a million questions about their offensive line? You're not Derrick Henry's not going to run over the Buffalo Bills defense here. That means Lamar, it's going to be all Lamar's shoulders. And I think that's a big ask with how this Buffalo team is playing together right now. Would not shock me at all if we wake up, the Ravens are now 1-3 and Buffalo would be 4-0 on the season.
When you look at the defenses here, Joe, there is a drastic difference, at least to start. Buffalo, 7th best in the NFL, only allowing 16 points per game. Baltimore has allowed 26. All right, garbage points against the Cowboys last week. That's how they got to 25. The Raiders won outright as an 8.5-point underdog in Baltimore the last time the flock was there. They scored 26. The Chiefs put up 27 on opening night. Of course, there is a new OC in Baltimore, as it's Alex Orr. And Mike McDonald is the new head coach in Seattle. Has there been some of a learning curve for the Ravens? Potentially. The Ravens also, Joe, and here's where I think it's a little bit overblown based on the numbers, are the worst passing defense in the NFL after 3 weeks. But you would expect the MVP co-favorite and one of the front runners right now in Josh Allen to have a really good night on Sunday. 233.5 is his current passing yards prop. 1.5 passing touchdowns. He had 4 pass TDs last week against Jacksonville. And as you said, Lamar Jackson has done everything, but last week it was a large dose of the ground game. Derrick Henry over $150. Lamar had over 80. The team ran for 274 against Dallas. You can still know that running the football is a huge key ingredient, of offensive success for the Ravens.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point. The Ravens are, and we're going to see it again on full display, they miss their former DC, Mike McDonald, now in Seattle as the head coach, because this secondary of the Ravens is getting exposed, and they haven't really taken on a team like the Buffalo Bills with a quarterback and a wide receiving and tight ends that can really exploit how bad they are. 24th in pass defense so far this year, 23rd in coverage. This is a Bills team that will absolutely be able to find the holes on that secondary. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Baltimore's defense can't get to the quarterback. They're not exactly sacking guys left and right. And has anybody noticed how Von Miller is playing this year, Ben? A difference really maker here. And I think Lamar is going to be under a lot of duress in that game, which makes it very difficult for you to look at Baltimore with that offensive line and go, yeah, they'll be able to expose this defense of Buffalo. Don't know.
Baltimore has been we'll see. Baltimore has been a favorite each of the past 2 weeks. Of course, they lost outright as the largest favorite of week number 2 against the Raiders, a slight road favorite in Dallas last week because of the impetus and the importance on not starting 0-3. They got that win and a cover. Joe, since the start of last year, the Ravens the Ravens were a favorite in 17 of 18 games. They were 10-7 against the spread. But with Lamar Jackson, who became the full-time starting quarterback for the flock in 2019, since that point, as a home favorite, Baltimore just 16-23 against the number. Since we have seen Buffalo be on the rise in the AFC East, 4 consecutive divisional crowns since the start of the 2020 NFL campaign, the Bills have only been an underdog 14 total times in the last 5 years, and I include this season because they were a dog week 2 Thursday Night Football in Miami. Of course, comfortably won that football game outright, and it was even before the injury to Tua Tagovailoa that the Bills were well in command of that game in South Florida. Buffalo is 8-6 against the spread as an underdog in that span since the start of 2020, and I think, Joe, if they win outright again as an underdog, those numbers that you saw right there, especially to win the AFC, as the Bills have that second best number and the Ravens entered the year with the second best price and now the fourth best number, those numbers are going to move drastically come Monday morning.
Oh, without a doubt. Listen, this is the first big test for Buffalo here. But am I alone, Ben, thinking when I've seen you've watched both of these teams? Now, granted, you don't make any wholesale changes here after September. It's just none of this may look the same here come at the end of October. But I'm with you here. This looks, feels, and smells different with Buffalo, and the same thing with Baltimore, who was a preseason darling. It doesn't feel the same with Harbaugh and Baltimore this year, does it?
It feels a little bit different, right? And the expectations for the flock is a Super Bowl. It is an AFC championship. It is improving Lamar Jackson's 2-4 playoff record. Same story, though, for Buffalo. Hey, great, you can get to the divisional round, win a conference championship, and play for a Lombardi trophy. Buffalo over in 2 of 3 games. Joe, the Ravens and the Cowboys, the only 2 teams at the end of week 3 over in all 3 games. Something to keep in mind for that 46.5 on Sunday Night Football. More around the Sunday slate next. It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A playoff rematch on Sunday in Tampa between the Buccaneers and the Birds. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly, as they were in the postseason in the wild card round a year ago, a road favorite in Tampa against Baker and the Bucs. I wonder if Philadelphia would be a road favorite, Joe, had the Buccaneers not lost outright as a 5.5-point home favorite last week against the Denver Broncos. That, I guess, we will never know. And last year, when these 2 teams met in the postseason, it was the Eagles on a slide. They dropped 5 of their final 6 and lost that playoff game to Tampa. The Buccaneers used the win to get into the divisional round. It's part of the optimism for the Bucs entering this season. Both teams 2-1. Virtually a pick'em on Sunday. Who do you like to emerge 3-1?
Well, yeah, and a lot of injuries, right? Injury concerns with both of these teams already. I can tell you right now, I mean, A.J. Brown means a lot to the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, we saw Devonta Smith get hurt in that New Orleans game there. Both have been listed as questionable still. Lane Johnson was in the concussion protocol. Also a big spot here for Philadelphia. And the Bucs, we saw what happened with them. They didn't have Vita Vea. They didn't have Kancey, and they had Winfield Jr. That whole defensive side of the ball got kind of exposed last week, didn't they? I would say if good news comes by tomorrow or before kickoff on Sunday that a lot of these guys are playing, I think it's a fascinating matchup here, but it's also one that I think leads me to an under, Ben. I don't know how in the world we're expecting this to be a shootout. I do think if the defensive players are back for Tampa, that I think in Tampa, I think this is going to be tough sledding. I think it's a dead under at the 43.5 number.
So the Buccaneers have been an incredible underdog with Baker Mayfield. This not necessarily covering a 3.5, 4.5 point spread, but they did win outright as nearly a touchdown underdog in Detroit week number 2. They are 10-4 against the spread as an underdog since the beginning of last year. All right, it's a virtual pick'em. 7 of those 10 covers in outright victory. Now, in terms of that total, Joe, Philadelphia has only one over this year. It was on the slippery turf of Sao Paulo. Both games back stateside for the Birds have been pretty well under their number. The game on Monday against the Atlanta Falcons to end out week number 2 got close because of the Falcons storming back at the end, but still stayed under. So if you're looking at domestic totals for the Birds, they've had a pretty good under margin to begin. And now, Joe, we compare these two teams and see what they do for the remainder of this season. Last year, until the final few weeks of the regular season, I would have told you the Eagles are in prime position once again to play for an NFC championship. And the game in Tampa kind of encapsulated all of the defensive issues that Philadelphia had, the reason for the coordinator changes, the reason for the hope and optimism this year. The Birds are a favorite to win the NFC East. Philly has the second best price to win the NFC behind a struggling San Francisco team. But the Buccaneers, Joe, after 2 weeks, were one of the 2 most impressive teams in the NFL alongside their divisional mate in the New Orleans Saints. How do you view both of these teams entering Week 4 Sunday slate?
Well, I think the Bucs are very much alive in their division, right? The Eagles are going to have some work to do, and I just checked, Ben. It does look like Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown are not going to be available in here. And if Lane Johnson doesn't pass that protocol, then this is a team I think when whole is very much alive to win the NFC East, right? But we've already seen without A.J. Brown, that offense looks totally different. And if they can stay healthy with Saquon Barkley running the ball, they can run. I just don't know they're going to win a lot of shootouts. And I think this is a matchup they can win if they keep it low scoring.
23-1, Joe, the price on the Buccaneers to win the NFC. How about that plus 280 number for the 3-time divisional champs in the NFC South back to back to back? How do you feel about the NFC South after week 3 with the Saints taking an L, the Falcons taking another loss, and same for the Buccaneers?
I think it's one of those divisions, Ben, where after a month, no team is as good as they may have looked already, and no team is as bad as they may have looked already. I think there's a lot to be decided in that division.
The Atlanta Falcons were the odds-on favorites entering the year. Now it's New Orleans at plus 145, 20 cents in front of the Birds at plus 165. And, of course, you saw the price on the Buccaneers. A couple of divisional duels on Sunday when Hour 2 is up next.